On to the voiceover. So here's the abuse testing that I started doing on the panel. I beat it up and gouged it pretty good with that little wrench right there. I also wanted to hit it with some non-metallic items, and the pen was a bad choice, but the handle of the screwdriver was a good one. And that really didn't do anything to it. I scrubbed it on the bench for a second there. There's aluminum filings on there. Figured it would scrape it up. Overall, it didn't really do anything. The wrench gouged into the aluminum, which peeled everything up. You can see those gouges over by that finger hole there. That was from the sharp end of the wrench. The rounded edge of the wrench hitting it barely left little like smudges that you could hardly see, and they actually cleaned right up. So that was impressive, pretty durable. I gave it a little bit of a flex, not much. Like I said, this testing has all been done, so I'm not stressing over this. I want to get on to some other types of stuff. The backside where I didn't prep, I hit it with a little acetone and scrubbed it. You can see I was able to take off the overspray with the acetone. But the stuff that is cured and set, I hit it with acetone and scrubbed on it, and it made no difference. Didn't do anything to it. So I'm taping off a section, and I'm going to hit that bottom line with the DA with the Scotch-Brite like I mentioned, try and clean up where I made all that damage to see if I can go over it and touch it up. And on the backside, the clean part of aluminum, I'm going to make a bigger dent, try filling it again with some slightly better primer. I made a very big dent. And see if I can't fill that and get the primer to seal it to the point that it's not visible. And this is not how you want to mix body filler, by the way. I'm putting all kinds of air holes in there, mixing it that way. I'm not intending this to be perfect. This is more for a color change and to see if I can get it to feather out. But I did learn something interesting with the previous body filler during all of this. You'll see it later on when I show you the pictures. When I went to pull that blue tape off, surprisingly, the blue tape did not want to come off. And I thought that was weird considering everything sticks to Cerakote, but it was a pain to get that blue tape off of there. It might be because I had hit it with some acetone previously, so maybe it was a little soft from that. I don't know. But the other thing was where the blue tape went over the other body filler. And there you can see I'm done with the sanding. It came out pretty good. Where the blue tape was sitting over the other body filler on the top side, it actually pulled off a small section that was feathered out. I don't think it was a failure of the Cerakote. It was a failure of the body filler to adhere properly to the aluminum. So that's something else I'll have to take into consideration, is making sure I have proper prep for the body filler if I use it. Excuse me. So in between all of that stuff drying, all the different layers, I decided to go ahead and get this wingtip done because, well, big motivation behind me seeing that wing come together. Just like the other side, I started with the trailing edge. You have to trim that back so that it'll go up against the aileron. Ultimately, you want a 1/4 inch gap there, but I'm not going to final size that gap until everything else is done. This is just to get it close so that I can get the rest of it trimmed and set in there. Definitely messy cutting that stuff. Do it outside. Wear a respirator. You don't want to breathe that in. Okay, so now that it's up against the aileron, I can start seeing what else is keeping it from going in and sitting nice and flush. And I'm just making marks down the wingtip, and I'm transferring that gap over to the edge. Once I've transferred those marks to the edge, I use the straight edge to make a straight line, and that should give me a contour that I have to follow to bring that whole wingtip in against the wing and have it sit nice against that body line you can see molded in there. At the end of the day, that body line's not that important because that whole tab is going to get cut off for the hinge that I'm going to put in there. And anything that's left, I can easily clean it up by sanding it down or building it back up. So the nice thing about fiberglass, I guess, it is ultimately forgiving. You can add or subtract pretty much as you want. But the idea is not to take off any more than you absolutely have to. So next round of trimming. And this whole ordeal really wasn't that bad. I think this took me start to finish for the wingtip and all the stuff I did with that test panel was right at 2 hours. And while Tim is out there cutting on that, I will mention that me and Chris did record our second episode of the podcast last night. I will leave a link to it in the description down below. Make sure you go check it out. We discussed some of the things that happened with putting that skin on the other day, lessons learned, and all kinds of things like that. So please go check it out. Give us some feedback. Tell us what you think. And give us suggestions for future podcasts. There's nothing we won't talk about. Back to this wingtip. It's weird the camera makes the tip look like it was distorted down there, but it is straight across the back edge. It's just a good, you can almost see it there, almost a 1/4 inch further or longer than the aileron is. Mind you, that aileron is not in its trimmed location right now. It's sitting just a little bit forward. It doesn't have the trim plate on. That's on the other wing, but I didn't need it for this. I will before I ever trim the trailing edge of that wingtip, though. That way it is dead on straight. Look, lesson learned from the last time. I am actually marking that rivet row, so I know where to add those second set of holes in between the original ones. This way I'm only putting that wingtip on one more time instead of 2 more times. Just use the edge marking tool to mark a straight line down the center of all of them, and now I'm just using the calipers again because I don't have a fancy rivet gauge to mark where I'm going to put those just dead in between the current rivet holes that are already there. And now it's just a matter of drilling through the existing holes and into the wingtip to hold it in place. I'm making sure to kind of pull on it and make sure it's snug and that line stays nice and straight. And you can see it's pulling in nice and tight, so it looks really good. Very cool to see this come together. This is the most complete the wings have been at all. There you see I'm going back and drilling the extra holes now. Not sure when those hinges are going to get here. There's been delays in shipping, and like I said, the P3 hinges are on back order. Hopefully sooner than later. But there you go. That is a complete wing structure. Flap, aileron, wingtip. Isn't she beautiful? So happy about all of that. On to the test panel. I gave that body filler plenty of time to dry. Now I'm just getting ready to hit it with this primer sealer. So I got that shot on there, let that dry, came back. Now you saw after it dried, I scuffed it up, cleaned it with a little alcohol. I cleaned the other side with some acetone where I'm going to do the touch-up and that line. And still a lot to learn. I really need to get that second color in so I can see how it really looks with a second color trying to go over another one. Remembered I really wanted another stand for the paint gun before I started this, so I'm making one out of some scrap particle board that I use as a drill guide right now. I took a U-bolt, cut one end off, drilled a hole at an angle, and now I'm just going to take a piece of heat shrink, put it over the bolts so that it doesn't scratch up the air fitting, and boom, makeshift paint stand. Necessity is the mother of all invention, right? Grab everything, get it all set up outside and ready to go. And this really did only take a couple of minutes. Checking out my fan pattern, making sure that's good, and now I'm spraying it. That's it. That's all it takes to spray it. It's done and hanging up out there. Now it's just a matter of breaking everything down. I did take some pictures of the panel this morning, so it's had half a day to cure, and I'll show those pictures here in a minute and discuss what I did end up seeing out of all of this. I was able to go over those scratches. There's the top side. Now you see that nick in the top at the left. There you see it again. That actually was a piece where the body filler feathered out and it had come off. That's what I was talking about. But the rest of those scratches filled in nicely. We'll see how durable it is. You can still see the body filler right there on the bottom a little bit, so the primer didn't seal all the way. I'll have to do some more with that, but again, I got to come up with a better way to get that stuff, the body filler, to adhere to the aluminum, period, or it's not worth using. It'll just pop out under it'll pop out under whatever coating I put on the plane. So more to come, more testing. It's all a learning experience for me. Hope you all got something out of this. Hope you enjoyed it. I think up next I'm going to be getting those inspection panels installed on that right wing, and then it's on to the left one. See ya!